So big. A girl exclaimed in shock as she saw the spectacle in front of her. Curious, her friends rushed over to see what had caught her attention. To their surprise, she was pointing at an enormous pizza, fresh out of the oven and covered in an outrageous amount of topping. It was a pizza so big that it could easily feed the entire group. In the group of friends was a guy named Finn, who was also speechlessly looking at her. They were initially in the living room enjoying some music when they heard her. Considering their age, they all shared some dirty thoughts when they heard her words. They were here for the Christmas party, and it wouldn't be surprising if their friend was doing something suspicious in the kitchen alone. Fortunately, it was not the case, or the remaining party would have become awkward. Finn was also relieved. He, along with others, turned to the living room, and the party resumed again. They enjoyed the food and drinks, with some music. Party was soon over. One by one, everyone started leaving. It was snowing outside and Finn had brought his umbrella along. With a final goodbye to others, he also left. He was quite satisfied and full. It had been a great time for him. The scenery was also beautiful, with all sorts of colorful lights around. People were still out and partying even at late night, so the streets were lively. It's snowing a lot. Exhaling slightly, he thought. For some reason, the street lights were flickering a lot as he went by. It was quite dark, and lights were flickering, but he still continued walking. He predicted that the snow won't be stopping anytime soon, and it was better to reach home as early as possible. Swish! He heard some rustling sounds as he crossed the dark road. Narrowing his eyes, he looked over, and in that instant, his life flashed before his eyes as a massive truck sped towards him. The driver was out for some reason, maybe alcohol or something. A terrible carelessness. Unfortunately, Finn soon suffered the consequences of the driver's inappropriate action as the truck rammed into him. A moment of pain before it all blacked out for him. I died. Fuck. He was shocked beyond belief. At the moment, he was unable to see anything or feel anything. It was as if he was nothing more than a ball of consciousness. He was unexpectedly calm, which scared him. Usually he should be panicking at the moment or even wailing in pain, but he was unable to feel any intense emotions. Such calmness scared him, but he was unable to do anything at all. Suddenly, he felt as if something was tugging at him. Initially, he didn't feel much, but soon the tug became stronger and stronger. It was as if someone was yanking him, trying to pull him somewhere. And with such strong force, he had no choice but to be pulled wherever he was being taken to. In a dimly lit room. Cries of a baby were the only sound that could be heard in the room. The room was simple, open space with straw mat flooring. Sliding doors made of paper screens separated the room from the outside. Inside, low wooden tables were placed on the floor, surrounded by cushions for seating. The room was well lit, with soft, natural light filtering through the thin screens. Ants of a woman echoed throughout the empty room. After all, the woman had just given birth. Murmurs of midwives filled the room as they shuffled around, ending to the woman and the baby. Cries of the baby slowly ceased as the infant opened his small eyes, the world before him blurry, getting used to the light. Did I reincarnate? The baby thought, an expression of curiosity mixed with shock on his tender face. He was an avid reader of fantasy novels. He was familiar with this kind of setting too. He was just surprised that this fantasy of his turned into a reality. He could not help but remember his family back in the previous life, and felt quite uncomfortable in his heart. He was keenly aware that he won't be able to meet them again, and this saddened him greatly. They might be in too much of a shock, he pondered, his mind going to his caring mother who was always worried about him. Truth to be told, he was a disabled person and had some vision problems. But thanks to God's grace, it was not too hard on him and he could still perform daily tasks. It was also because of this that he had to strain himself to spot the incoming truck in the night. I hope they don't feel sad too much. I would like to let them know that I am quite fine here. He decided to not think much on this matter for now. Although he was sad, he also was excited about this scenario. He no longer felt his vision problems, and this was a new world that he wanted to experience. He looked around the room and felt that this room resembled the old Japanese design. As he was scanning his surroundings, his gaze fell on a designated alcove showcasing a piece of artwork. For some reason, he felt that the symbol etched on the wall behind was quite familiar. Before he could think of anything more, he felt himself being lifted by the midwives and handed to a woman lying on a bed. He observed her features and felt a chill. The woman before him had short ashen gray hair with a pair of piercing silver moon eyes. She had a gorgeous face with soft-looking pink lips and a button nose. But her expression at the moment was nonchalant, and her gaze was cold as ice. He felt her eyes scanning him, as if he was an object whose worth was being measured at the moment. He didn't know why, but he felt her eyes become colder and colder as seconds passed by. His heart stirred at the sight. Although he felt a feeling of déjà vu when looking at her for some reason, but at the moment he did not think much of it. He heard her say something. Cold, monotone voice was all that sounded in the room, as she expressionlessly commented, "Useless." His heart was beating fast. This woman before him was supposed to be his mother. She was supposed to be a woman who had just experienced the pain of labor and birthed a child. Yet, he felt that she had no particular emotion towards him. She didn't even show an ounce of tiredness. She almost felt like an emotionless robot. "Useless," he heard her say. He could automatically understand her words for some reason. His heart sank as he heard the word useless. Wait, I am not going to be killed, right? Just after I was born at that? Panic. He didn't want to be killed for being branded useless. That would be the most wasteful death he could experience. Of course, he didn't care about the woman either. It was fine if she did not like him for some reason. He held no strong feelings either. He already had a mother in his past life, and the thought of suddenly accepting another woman as his mother was impossible. But the situation now was peculiar. He was experiencing a crisis, praying that he won't be killed. He could not run away with his current state either. Knock, knock. At the moment, a small knock disturbed the eerily calm room. "Speak," the gray-haired woman commanded. Her tone was authoritative and even colder. "Madam, the clan head wishes to know about young master." It was a man behind the paper door. The flames of the candles reflected his shadow from the other side. His tone was respectful, tinged with a bit of fear. "Not worth it, Eldo," she responded, not moving her gaze from the baby in her hands. The man behind the door paused as if he was shocked before he solemnly replied, "As you command, Madam Ophelia." With that, the man left. The room was once again returned to silence. The woman named Ophelia moved her head slightly, and he was taken away by a midwife, put into a wooden cradle and covered with a thin sheet. His mind was in chaos. A single name was all he could hear inside. Ophelia. Now I remember why I felt she looked familiar. Seems that I have reincarnated into the novel Divine Banishers, and not only that, as one of the children of the wife of the patriarch of Mystic Purge clan. He didn't know whether to cry or laugh. He was now a bit reassured that he wouldn't be killed for being useless, but the clan was a bit difficult. The novel called Divine Banishers was a hot serialized novel, and he was quite a fan of the work. He had invested money to support the author as well for his work. The novel was about exorcists and evil beings called demons. The world was filled with demons since ancient times, and these demons feasted upon human souls and were tyrannically dominant. However, soon some selected humans rose and hunted down the demon. They used supernatural powers rivaling those of demons and killed them relentlessly, claiming the world back slowly. These powerful humans called themselves exorcists. The world was soon thrown into chaos as it became a battleground for the exorcists and demons. Protagonist of the novel was a young exorcist who led others and annihilated the demons, bringing the world to peace. It majorly focused on the protagonist's journey and his challenges as he became stronger, bit by bit. According to his memories, exorcists were mainly controlled by 5 major exorcist clans. These were the strongest clans, consisting of some of the most powerful and terrifying exorcists. They were the major leaders of the world at the moment. The Mystic Purge clan was one of the 5 great clans, having ancient roots. But it was an extremely cruel clan. For greater benefit, they were willing to use any extreme methods, going as far as to kill their own comrades to annihilate the demons. Their methods were frowned upon by many, but no one dared to openly criticize them either. After all, each official exorcist from the clan was a master. The clan had also earned itself the title as the clan that purged the most demons. This is troublesome now. He was a bit helpless. The clan was not only cruel to the demons, but also to its members. Their training was ruthless and inhuman, clearly not a place for weaklings or soft-hearted people at all. It was a nightmarish place, to be honest. But what bugged him more was that he had been branded useless by Ophelia, his so-called mother in this life. Ophelia was one of the strongest female exorcists. She had multiple abilities and was feared by demons and humans alike. What made her even more terrifying was the fact that she barely showed any emotion to anything. She was just like an emotionless doll who ruthlessly slaughtered her enemies. He didn't dare doubt her words. If Ophelia had classified him as useless, then it meant that he really was. She possessed a special pair of eyes that let her discern a person's worth and their talent. It was one of the 4 special eyes after all. But what should I do now? I must not have any talent for being an exorcist. How am I going to live here? He was quite worried now that he was aware of his situation more clearly. Not only that, but I am not even a special character, just a mob child of the clan with no talent for being an exorcist. How lame. He knew that the moment he stepped outside, he would either be killed by demons or would be kidnapped for his bloodline. Not only that, the Mystic Purge clan is quite infamous in the exorcist circle. Even in the novel, they had multiple clashes with the protagonist for not sharing the same morals and beliefs. Just as he felt all hope was lost, he heard a sound in his mind. Bing. Ding, conditions met. Binding system has been activated. System? He froze for a second before becoming overjoyed. His golden finger had arrived after all. He had initially planned to become that guy who uses his manipulation skills and becomes friends with all major characters for his safety. It was a troublesome choice, but he was planning to do that if he had nothing. But now it didn't seem necessary. The binding system allows the host to bind himself to one character, and as they grow stronger and achieve a milestone in their progress, the host will receive 10 times the result. What the fuck? This is so insane. He was shocked beyond words. The system was extremely powerful, but the next moment, he calmed down and focused on the words milestone and progress. Hey, system, are you there? Can you elaborate further on what this means? He wanted to learn about the basic details. The words felt ambiguous. However, even after waiting a minute, he received no response and became aware that the system was not sentient. Well, this is also good. I don't like those, anyway. From what he could understand, the system would allow him to bind himself to a character, and as they trained and became stronger, he would receive 10 times the benefits of their training and rewards. It was undoubtedly a cheat, but considering he could only bind himself to one person at a time, then his rate of growth would be limited to that person's talent and hard work. Well, that wouldn't be too big of a problem. He remembered that there were many geniuses among geniuses in the novel. They were excellent exorcists despite being young and worked tirelessly daily to achieve greater heights. Of course, his goal was different. There is no better candidate for binding than the protagonist. He could not help but smile as he remembered the monster the protagonist was, not only in terms of talent, but also hard work. There were few who could dare to even keep up with the protagonist in the entire novel. For now, however, he had more pressing matters to attend to. Not only was he useless, but he also believed that his treatment in the clan would soon become worse. Although he did not like the sound of that, he could do nothing for the time being. He first must find a temporary candidate to bind to until he meets the protagonist. Mystic Purge clan. Thinking about the clan, a few suitable candidates popped up in his head. They were quite good and talented. He knew that if he did not bind someone soon, he might even suffer permanently. The clan was infamous for its cruel nature, exorcists. He knew they wouldn't even care if he was killed by a demon or attacked someday. He needed strength to keep himself safe as long as he was in the clan. Maybe I will do that. She's suitable, surely. He decided on a suitable candidate for as long as he was in the clan. Nadia Mystic. the fourth young miss of the clan, and an important character in the novel.
She was born with the greatest talent in the clan, inheriting the traits of both the patriarch and Ophelia. She was the genius miss from the clan, showing greater talent than any of her siblings. People often compared her to the founder of the clan in terms of talent. The moment she was born, Ophelia showed intense expressions for the first time after many years. In the novel, Nadia was trained by the best exorcists in the clan and had countless resources at her disposal since birth. She was a monster who could keep up with the protagonist of the generation. However, her personality was shit. Perhaps it was due to the presence of ruthless Ophelia and the cruel patriarch that she had a vicious personality upon growing up. Cold, ruthless, inhuman, these words could not do her justice. In the novel, exorcists from the other clans had given her a dark nickname for her inhuman tactics. Demon in a human skin. A shameful nickname for any exorcist. To be compared to a demon, their worst enemies, it was the greatest taint an exorcist could experience. Yet, Nadia was uncaring throughout her time. She slaughtered demons and hunted the humans who stood in her path. She was indifferent to everything. The relationship between her and the protagonist of the novel was platonic and unclear to readers. Even the strong-willed protagonist failed to persuade her to change her beliefs. She was that staunch. Now I need to know if she had been born already. Well, who am I even? He thought helplessly, not even knowing his own name. There were many children, and he hoped that Nadia should be there already. He prayed that he be younger so he could quickly bind to Nadia and start reaping benefits quickly. For now, all he could do was wait in the wooden baby cot, having nothing to do. He started to revise his knowledge about the novel that he would be needing in the near future. This should be the beginning stages of the novel, considering the time. Ophelia had just birthed me, so there's no doubt about it that the novel has yet to enter the main arcs. The beginning arc was a bit bland as compared to other arcs. For now, the war between the demons and exorcists should be at a stalemate. The clans must be preparing their younglings for the future. Then there will be the academy arc where the main drama will begin. Till then, I need to get a good amount of strength. The candle lights in the room flickered violently, and a dark aura was enveloping the entire household that night. Unknowingly, Ophelia had birthed an anomaly that she could not determine, an entity that was beyond her comprehension and might. It was not clear what the future held for their clan or even the world. But one thing was sure, demons and humans both would suffer the turbulence alike. It all depended on him now.
5 years later. A little boy with short silver hair on his head and beautiful gem-like amethyst eyes was sitting on his knees quietly. In front of him was a middle-aged woman with a wrinkled face and stern expression. "Master Oliver, now solve this problem," she said, sliding a sheet containing a number of math problems towards the calm boy. The boy was none other than Finn. In the past 5 years, he had learned a lot about himself and his situation. He was born as the fourth son, Oliver, which meant Nadia was his twin sister. This relieved him when he came to know about it. He was glad that he didn't need to wait a lot. Apparently, she was born just before a few days he was born. In the novel, Nadia was not supposed to have a twin sibling, but perhaps it was due to him that this changed. Nonetheless, it did not halt his plan. At the moment, he was being taught by a teacher hired specifically to educate the children of the clan. No matter how pathetic his talent as an exorcist was, he still had the blood of the clan, so he was also taught. The family only needed excellent children. Pathetic ones shall be discarded. Although he had not shown any talent in being an exorcist, he had shown brilliant academic brilliance, which meant that he still had some worth as a scholar and could probably aid as a strategist in the future. This was quite surprising to him. He had thought initially that he would be thrown out of the clan soon, but unexpectedly, they still kept him and raised him normally. It seems they still care about their blood. Oliver felt happy that he was left alone and was not denied too much. Of course, he was still despised by the clan members for being born weak. He was too lazy to bother with them and focused on showing his academic talents. Naturally, he didn't have any talents, It was just that the education for a 5-year-old was just too damn easy for him. In the field of technology, this world was not much different from his previous one. Here. He calmly filled in the answers and returned the sheet. Excellent, Master Oliver, as expected. The teacher nodded and praised him upon seeing all sums were done correctly. She knew that the level of the problem was not something a 5-year-old should be able to solve, but here she was. It was a pity that Oliver didn't have any talent for being an exorcist, or he could have achieved much greater heights. Whenever, she was here to teach, and she would do just that. She dared not comment on him. In the end, he still belonged to the direct lineage of the Mystic Purge clan. Oliver knew what she was thinking and didn't comment. He was quite excited today as he could finally meet his sister, Nadia. In the past 5 years, he was not permitted to leave his room much, but after persistent begging to the maids and the guards, he was finally permitted to roam in the household. He didn't understand their logic of not letting him leave his room, but in the end, he succeeded. In the past 5 years, he had shown terrifying brain and mental aptitude, which earned him a bit of praise from others, and this was precisely why his persistent begging was paid heed to. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been allowed to get outside and stay in his room forever. Maybe they felt that I would shame them by showing my face to others. Huh? He had some guesses as to why he was under such harsh conditions, but he couldn't care about that. He could finally meet Nadia and bind to her. After that, he didn't care if they imprisoned him or whatever. He would automatically become strong. Then, I will leave now, Oliver said to the teacher and left the study room. The whole house was made in a Japanese style. From the houses to the roofs to the flooring, everything was made out of traditional materials. It gave him a grand and ancient feeling. He walked on the wooden flooring, his white socks rubbing against the floor. He was dressed in modest clothes at the moment, a simple shirt and pants. He was searching for Nadia. He had asked around a few maids and knew about her whereabouts. The household was extremely humongous, and he lived in some isolated corner, whereas Nadia lived quite close to the center of the estate. So he took some long routes and reached her courtyard shortly. Clang! He heard some sounds as soon as he reached there. It was the sound of clashing of weapons. Peeking from behind a rock, he saw her finally. There she was, in her training clothes, thrusting her sword and swinging at the metallic training statue. His eyes widened when he saw her. She was literally the same age as him, but the way she was swinging the sword and hammering the metal dummy was astonishing. Despite her mere age, she was monstrously powerful. The metal dummy shook with every impact of her swing, as if ready to fall apart at any moment. As expected of Nadia, the demoness, Oliver sucked a cold breath. He was sure that one hit from her would send him to the afterlife. Nadia paused suddenly and twisted her body and stared at the rock where he was hiding behind. His scalp went numb when he was easily detected. Is she even human? Oliver cursed, a bit worried now. Show yourself, Nadia spoke, her voice as cold as ice. She didn't have an ounce of fear. She knew it was the main estate of the household, and the person hiding was likely not an enemy. It was highly impossible for someone to infiltrate their main household where the strongest exorcists lived. Hey? Hey? Oliver was unsure of how to interact with her and awkwardly waved at her after coming from behind the rock. Nadia narrowed her eyes, observing his features and feeling quite intrigued. He was terrifyingly similar to her, with silver hair and amethyst eyes. It was known throughout the clan that she was the only one with amethyst eyes and silver hair. The amethyst eyes were something she had inherited from the patriarch of the clan and held deep significance. She was aware that none of her siblings had amethyst eyes, as far as she was told. The eyes held a deeper meaning than just their beauty. The rest of the children mainly inherited some other features of their father, hair and all, and the rest was from their mother. But a person's eyes held deep meaning in the exorcist world. After all, it was known to the world that the patriarch of the Mystic Purge clan possessed one of the 3 special eyes, one of the powerful ones at that, though it was obvious she had also inherited them from him. It's just that she had yet to awaken them, but nonetheless, her perception range was astonishing. She easily found Oliver hiding from a distance. But more importantly, she could not help but stare at him. Her mind was filled with curiosity. She wondered who he was. Not only were their features almost similar, but she also felt a strong connection with him as well. He just needs a bit longer hair. He thought about how he would look exactly the same as her if he grew his hair a bit more. Being children, their faces carried traces of baby fat and feminine features, so it would be difficult to tell who was who if Oliver did that. "Who are you?" Nadia questioned. She had to know who he was and how he had the same eyes as her father. "I am Oliver, the fourth son," he said, a bit unsure if she would believe him. Fourth son. These words resounded in her mind as she realized that there was actually another sibling she was unaware of. And not only that, he seemed to be her twin. She experienced a complex emotion at the moment, pang of excitement and amusement. More or less, her other brothers and sisters were either all older than her or younger. She rarely met them face to face. But she suddenly remembered her mother's words. "Nadia, you are the heiress of the clan, one of the 5 great clans. You must always behave accordingly. Don't show too much emotion. Don't be dragged down by others. Be ruthless to those who are hostile, and never trust anyone other than yourself and me." She forcefully suppressed her excitement and went back to her cold face. She asked, "Why are you here? No one is allowed to enter here without my permission." I got lost and ended up here. Haha." Oliver joked, which made Nadia's expression even weirder. He got lost in his own house? She didn't believe that. She could easily remember every route in her memory. She was not aware that she had a strong memory, unlike Oliver. It came out for the first time. "Anyways, you are my sister, right? Man, they didn't allow me to leave my courtyard, and only now did I manage to sneak into this area. But to think I will meet my sister." Oliver faked enthusiasm. He had to maintain a good relationship with her. Plus, he had to be in her presence or touch her once to bind with her. "Hey, what's your name? I never knew that I had a twin. We even have the same features too. I am so happy. All the others won't even talk to me." Oliver made up some things. It didn't hurt to tell a little falsehood to establish a strong foundation. Plus, due to their shared bloodline and being twins, he felt a strong connection with her. "Nadia," she replied, her voice a little low. For some reason, she also wanted to know him more. She felt a strong connection with him. No matter how much she tried to suppress herself, she was still a child, and there were some things that could not be helped. Her mind told her to follow her mother's words, but her heart did not listen. This was the first time she had lost such composure. She wanted to know why she was feeling the connection with him. If he was someone important, or if something else was the case. "Wow, Nadia, what a good name," Oliver praised. His tongue was quite good at pleasing others, after 5 years of consistent begging to be allowed out. Well, it was a different matter since he was still not allowed to come near the central area, and had intentionally sneaked there just to meet Nadia. It was just a small skill he had acquired, and coupled with his innocent, childish looks, this worked like a charm. "Nadia, would you come with me? I will show you my secret hideout. We can play there." Oliver didn't know how to spend some more time with her. He had to touch her once at least to bind, so he decided to sacrifice his hidden spot that he had found behind his courtyard. It was a good hiding spot where he usually was when he was not studying. "No, I cannot play. I am the heiress." Her voice was low and small. She really wanted to deny him and continue training as per her mother's instructions. Tug. She watched as Oliver took her hand in his small hands and tugged her. In the end, she let herself be dragged away to see what the place he was talking about was. I need to know if there's such a hidden location in the clan. Then I can report back to Mother." "That's right," Nadia told herself and went with Oliver. Ding, Nadia Mystic. Does the host wish to bind with the individual? Yes, Oliver was overjoyed as he finally received the notification. Binding, 1 cent, 69, 100%. Successful! Nadia Mystic is now the target. Finally, Oliver mentally exclaimed as he led his cold sister to his hideout. He felt Nadia was too intelligent for her age and too stern. She needed to relax or she would really grow up to be a killing machine. If possible, he would like to avoid such a dark future for her. He could see in her that she was born with plenty of emotions. It was just that her parents and upbringing had managed to kill off her emotions. He knew that he could not tamper with the plot too much. All he could do was let her experience some joy she won't forget and have a soft spot in her heart. Oliver led her to a place covered by willow trees. The land was cushioned by soft green grass, and sunlight filtered through the gaps between the trees, making a serene mix of light and shadows. Occasional relaxing winds breezed through the trees, making the leaves rustle and keeping the spot warm and relaxing. It was truly a wondrous spot that had somehow come under his courtyard accidentally. Nadia was flabbergasted. Her eyes trembled for some reason. The spot was simple yet exquisitely beautiful and peaceful to her. Her heart, which had been tense since forever, always under an invisible burden, suddenly relaxed. Ah! She could not help but let out a sound. She was at a loss for words. She wanted to express something but didn't know how to. For the past years, all she had done was train herself and study. She never knew about appreciating nature or taking a break. And it was understandable since she was the hope of her clan's future, and the world was under threat from vicious demons that she needed to exorcise. She didn't have time for such silly thing. Yet here she was now. A strong feeling of unwillingness surged in her heart as she saw the calm nature. As her eyes moved to the center, he looked at him, Oliver, a boy who suddenly barged into her daily life, claiming to be her unknown brother from the same mother. She bit her lip and stopped herself from moistening her eyes at the moment. Crying was something only weak people would do. She had once cried but was scolded by her mother. After that, her memories were a bit blurry. She could not remember the reason she had cried that time and what had happened afterward. But one thing she was sure of was that she never shed a tear after that. So why was she like this now? There was nothing to cry about here. It was just a normal place with some ordinary trees and a common sibling of hers. She had many siblings and had seen many expensive artworks. And why? Why did she feel like crying now? Drip, drip, drip. Tears fell from her eyes unintentionally. She felt her willpower was not enough to stop them. Are you crying? Oliver was busy admiring the place. When he saw her shedding tears, he felt awkward. He was never good when it came to dealing with children. In fact, he didn't even know what he had done to make this strong girl suddenly cry. In the novel, it was mentioned that she had been extremely strong-willed since childhood, and to think she could also cry. No, I am not crying. She shook her head as she hurriedly wiped her tears only for more to keep coming. Oliver felt a pang of sympathy, so he tried to console her in the way he considered good for a child. Patting her back, he said, "Hey, don't feel sad, okay? You can always come here if you like this place." He didn't say too much, just a few words, and rubbed her back. Soon enough, she composed herself. All that remained on her face was a heavy blush and some embarrassment. After a moment of silence, Oliver thought of something and said to her, "What do you think of this place?" "Okay," she calmly replied, gaining back her composure with a light blush. "Oh, I don't have any toys to play with. What should I do?" He suddenly remembered that he never bothered asking for anything from his parents or maids, knowing he would be rejected. Not that he wanted any toys considering he was an adult inside. No need. I don't care for such thing. She rejected the very notion herself. If anything, she would prefer to duel with him. But, glancing at his frail body and undeveloped muscles, she knew he was not fit for any sort of combat. Too weak. She could not believe that a child of the main lineage of her clan was this weak. All her siblings were quite good, although not at her level, but still at a decent level for their age. So, why was he like this? There were too many unknowns about him. Hey? Oliver was taken aback. Forgot for a moment that she was still that Nadia from the novel, even though she had just cried like a little girl. But he felt it would be quite wasteful after coming this far and letting her leave already. I need to build a good relationship with her. In the future, I could reap some extra benefits this way. Plus, he thought as he looked at her once again cold expression, she's too pitiful. He could not help but feel that she was quite alone. From the novel, he could tell that she had always been alone in her life, always on guard against others, even against her own family members, ready for battle to the death. Vicious schemes, politics, demons, and whatnot. He didn't know if he, as an adult, felt that their parents had failed in their job in raising their kids. It was quite ironic how they considered each other pitiful in their own way. Maybe it was the environment of war that they and their previous generation grew up in, witnessing the loss of their loved ones, that they were like this. For once, he could not relate to them. He was a person who never experienced such cruel hardships, so he never blamed them. But still, he could not leave her alone. His mind told him it was not his business, and he agreed. He was not going to go out of his way to correct every action of theirs. That would be too hypocritical of him to impose his beliefs onto others. But Nadia was someone who he needed to grow strong, if possible, stronger than she was in the novel. So, he would try a little to not completely ignore her now that a system has bound to her character. He was not so selfish to freeload off her. He had his own principles as a man. But for now, he should entertain her a little, before sending her back. He had an idea as to what to do. How about I tell you a story? Story? She was curious. What story was he talking about? She doubted there was something that could interest her. His lips curled into a smile. While I may look like this, I am quite smart, you know. Even the teachers praise me. Anyways, I have a few stories that might interest you. Oliver knew that although the world was as developed as his, but the media and entertainment sectors were underdeveloped due to the wars and demons. It was like 10 to 15 years lacking behind his previous world. Without wasting time, he picked up a few popular children's stories. There were many. One was about a hungry caterpillar as it becomes a butterfly after many hardships. One was about a clever mouse who saves a ship from sinking. Another was about a bear who lived on a snow mountain. Nadia, who was initially not believing that he was good enough to entertain her, was fully immersed since his first story. Oliver also knew this. She was a kid, and all the stories he had selected were very popular among children. After an hour or so of continuous stories, he started to get a little worried. If someone came to check up on Nadia and saw her absent from her courtyard, it would stir a storm in the clan, so he quickly wrapped up everything. Nadia was still in a daze when she heard him say it was finished for today. Unintentionally, she uttered, "So soon." But the next moment, she realized her mistake and blushed again. She quickly got up from the grass she was seated on and dusted her clothes. "Then I will leave. And don't sneak in my courtyard next time," she loudly said to cover her embarrassment and left, leaving Oliver alone. Oliver's lips twitched as he heard her arrogant tone. Who was the one that just said it was finished so soon? Ha, she is still a kid. Don't feel angry. He had gained a lot from the day, and now all he had to do was just wait in his room and wait for results. Nadia quickly returned to her courtyard and shut herself in her room. Her face was red, and she was panting a little. She dashed straight to her room. What have I done today? Why did I act so weird in front of him? She walked back and forth in her room, tugging at her short hair in frustration. She felt she had acted too shamelessly today. She was the pride of her clan, and she lost her composure so badly today. She even cried in front of someone. Too much. This was too much for her to bear. She wanted to dig a hole and hide in it. Wait, why am I being so conscious? A sudden thought came to her mind. Practically, he was a stranger to her, and there was a chance that they would never meet again. So it should be all right, right? And if he dares to expose her, there was no proof on him, plus no one would believe his word. She was the pride of her clan after all. But still, a trace of unwillingness flashed through her eyes. She was not willing to lose so much face in front of him. She was a prideful and strong woman while he was a weak man. She had to settle this matter somehow, and to do that, I must meet him again and settle scores. She nodded at her intelligent decision. Naturally, this was the optimal situation according to her. Imposing herself once again, she threw the weapon she was carrying to the side and crashed into her futon. She felt extra tired today and needed some good rest. Oliver resumed his daily routine. There was not much response from the system afterwards, which meant that Nadia had yet to reach a milestone in her training. His studies kept getting harder and harder as the tutors were impressed by his scholarly aptitude. In the next half year, he he managed to earn the title of the smartest youth of the clan. Even though the difficulty level was increased, to him it was all child's play. He was not only taught the basic subjects but also knowledge about the world, demons, and clans, which he pretty much knew already. He knew that he had shown some value to the clan, and he won't be abandoned now. He had pretty much secured himself a place for the time being, and soon he received the first ever system notification of the reward. Ding! Target has awakened one of the 4 mythical eyes after undergoing rigorous training, the Abyss Eyes. Ding! Obtaining 10x benefits. The Cosmic Void Gaze has been obtained. Eyes will be awakened in the host. Oliver was just lazing around in his courtyard when he received the notification. It was just too sudden. Barefooted, he ran to his hidden spot in case of something unexpected happening. And just as he arrived in his hideout, a bone-crunching pain suddenly boomed through his head. He clutched his eyes as if wanting to pull them out of their sockets to stop the terrifying pain, to no avail. Cried hysterically. The pain was heart-wrenching, and he was unable to endure it without prior preparations. He rolled on the ground as his wails continued. Tears soaked his fragile skin. No one came to check on him either. He lived pretty much alone, and only maids came to clean his house or deliver food. He was technically isolated from the rest of the clan. Huff, huff, huff. After what seemed to be hours of continuous pain, his cries finally dimmed down. He was sprawled on the grassy floor, not even having the strength to get up, and he felt extremely tired. He could not even open his eyes, and he didn't know when, but he fell asleep. It was soon night, and he finally woke up and found himself still laying on the ground where he had fallen asleep. Ugh. He let out a groan as he mustered up some strength to get himself up. Slowly, he opened his eyes. The world before him was momentarily blurry before it started to clear. What he saw before him surprised him. Not only was his vision extremely clear, he found out that he could make out even minute details of his surroundings, from the veins on the leaves to the textures of tree branches even in the dark. More importantly, I can see it, he thought as he saw numerous colorful particles in the air densely filling up the air. These particles were the source of an exorcist's powers. Espera, the source of all supernatural power that exorcists and demons have in common, something that also determines the power of an exorcist. It is present everywhere, and those who could wield it could do anything. The more Espera they have, the stronger they become. When Oliver was declared useless, it meant that he didn't have the talent to properly harness or utilize Espera. Of course, this did not also mean that he was just an ordinary human with no compatibility with it. That was not possible since the blood of Mystic Purge clan flowed through his veins, though naturally, he was born with some Espera. But when Ophelia said that he was useless, she meant that he was unable to satisfy even the minimum criteria to be qualified as an exorcist. He had a very poor aptitude for being an exorcist overall. I can see why she said that I was useless now, he thought, as he looked at the countless Espera particles revolving around him, but only a very tiny portion of them actually came to him. So useless. He shook his head in resignation. Anyways, I will eventually get the talent too. I need to be patient. He felt excited as he obtained a 10x stronger version of the Abyss Eyes. In the novel, the Abyss Eyes were one of the 4 mythical eyes and were extremely powerful. There were many benefits Nadia abused, such as providing dominion over the void and shadows, manipulating darkness to create portals, induce fear, and drawing power from the abyss. It also gave some mysterious and formidable set of abilities tied to the darker elements in the later part. Oliver recalled the events and thought speechlessly. He was already content if he just received the same abilities, but now he had a 10x stronger version. System. Display the ability obtained. Ability 1. Dominion over cosmic voids. Description. Provides control over not only darkness, but the vast void between cosmos. Superior form of darkness element. Void unlocked. Ability 2. Master of interdimensional portals. Description. Possessor no longer limited to the same dimension anymore. Portals can be used for instantaneous transportation. Depends on the level of mastery. Ability 3. Enshrouding of death. Description: has the power to induce overwhelming fear on a grand scale, affecting entire battlefields or even entire legions. Fear is no longer a psychological aspect anymore, but a tangible force that weakens target and strengthens the possessor. Ability 4, Circuit of the Abyss. Description: Ability 5, Planar Imprisonment. Ability 7, Oliver was quiet for a while after looking at the cheat. "Fuck," was all he could say. "Calm down, me. Calm down." Oliver wanted to shout that he had finally become a cheat character, but forcefully suppressed it. If he made too much noise, he would draw the attention of the clan guardians undoubtedly. There are some abilities that have no description. It seems I would need to train this to unlock more information. And there are even more abilities. Oliver was riled up now, finally had something to do while he spent his time alone. He was not allowed to leave the clan at any cost, nor was he allowed to use the special training facility. He was just too miserable in the clan. His teachers wanted to nurture him into a battle strategist and make him serve his siblings in the future, and it seemed the supervisors responsible for training the direct children of the clan also agreed. While his other brothers and sisters were learning powerful weapon techniques and exorcism skills, here he was learning theory and schemes. "Well, I have the system, so I have no complaints." Oliver got up and whistled as he made his way back to his courtyard. But he forgot one thing in this whole scenario. The awakening of mythical eyes always triggers a lot of disturbances, and he, who had awakened something 10 times stronger, was bound to make a tremor. This meant that such an anomaly happening inside one of the strongest exorcist clans was hard to go unnoticed no matter what. It was one of the major places in the world that no one dared to easily step into, a place where the most crazy and insane exorcists of the generation lived and practiced their bloody techniques. And now such a huge disturbance had occurred. What was that? Figure in the dark exclaimed. What was that? A dark figure floating in the sky observed Oliver down below, who was going back to his courtyard. As moonlight fell upon the figure, the full body was revealed. It was not a human, but a white-colored kitten. "I came here due to the large amount of Aspera disturbance, but this is..." The white kitten spoke human language perfectly. She glanced at the spot where the boy had just been and landed there gracefully. What was that ominous power just now? A demon? No, a demon's Aspera cannot even compare to this. What exactly was it, and why was it coming from that boy? The cat mumbled as she dazedly glanced at particularly nowhere. But in fact, she was witnessing the Aspera particles in front of her being slowly disintegrating as dense black and purple particles collided with. She seemed to see even more details than what Oliver could see. After all, she was no ordinary kitten or cat. She was the clan guardian of the Mystic Purge clan. Each of the 5 great clans had their own clan guardian. These are the entities that their founding exorcists formed contracts. And these contracts were always changed whenever a new patriarch or matriarch assumed the throne of the clan. This is interesting. If I am not wrong, this is the one that the Ophelia girl said was useless at birth. It stirred a storm at that time. Someone from our lineage could be born with no talent for exorcism. Kat stretched as she wondered. And here we are. What has this boy awakened? It was ominous enough to make me on guard. Me, the great me? If I tell this to Ophelia, she would probably make a good expression. Ha ha ha. The cat laughed as she jumped on a nearby tree. But unfortunately, both of them are out at the moment, or they would have reached here by now. Is it fate that this was not to be seen by them? She had a questioning look in her eyes as she stared at the sky, as if staring at strings of fate. After a moment, she shook her head. I can't see the fate. This boy's fate seems too complex for my level. Should I ask that person to read his fate? No, I better not, or it will create trouble. But still, what to do now? She had a thoughtful look on her face as she calculated the next course of her actions. I need to keep him under my supervision. Whatever the power he had awakened, it is not something he could handle at his level. Plus, I need to observe him and understand how did that Ophelia was unable to see his potential. She jumped from one tree to another. Her direction, Oliver's courtyard. That boy clearly has immense potential, more than that Nadia girl. If he is not put on the right path from the beginning, he might turn astray. Or, who knows, he might have already started bearing a grudge against the clan. Oh, can't blame it on him either. Clan has developed some weird policies. Speed was normal, just like that of a cat, and she was about to reach his courtyard. I think I would need to take on the role of babysitter myself. I cannot trust anyone else with this. Has it already been a few centuries since I had to raise someone? A look of sadness flashed through her eyes as she remembered something while jumping, but it disappeared as quickly as it arrived. But that boy sure is phenomenal, to be able to conceal his emotions and expressions for so long and act so composed. This is indeed something for someone his age. She smirked. It was as if he had not awakened that terrifying power from before and all, and was just a bystander. She did not know about Oliver being famous for being a genius for his age. She hardly paid attention to things that did not concern exorcism and demons. And not only her, most of the major figures in the clan did not care about such things. Oliver, at most, was only a little famous among his maids or some servants. The clan believed in power. Intelligence is necessary, but as a tool only. As long as you are intelligent enough to properly use your immense powers, you can crush someone who is extraordinarily smart easily. As long as one meets a certain threshold of intellect, they are enough. The rest depended on their power and exorcism skills. As for the elders, it seems I would need to make up a story to satisfy them, huh? Well, they are just kids anyway. She mused as she thought about the worried elders of the clan who had also sensed the ominous Aspera before. But she took the initiative to investigate. She did so because she knew that the sudden ominous Aspera was threatening enough for her to act. Sending the elders was not worth the effort. Albeit the ominous Aspera was only there momentarily, it still was something to worry about. But now that she knew about the cause, she had to handle it her own way. She cannot leave this matter to the current patriarch and her cold wife. If I leave it to them, they will probably turn him into a killing machine like they are doing to Nadia. Ha! These brats won't listen to my warnings. She thought about their nature and values. She did not know when, but somehow she had neglected how the clan heads were being raised, considering it petty things, and before she knew, the clan had turned like this. Considering this, she had also failed a bit as their guardian. Although it was not her duty to interfere in their way of parenting or raising their children, she should have paid attention occasionally. But Oliver was an entirely different case. She cannot leave him to them at all. He was raised wrongly. It would not only be harmful for the clan, it could even impact human society. Demons were cunning and vicious, and there were cases when powerful exorcists in the past had betrayed humanity for demonkind and caused inhuman destruction. She had to observe Oliver herself. If he was bearing a grudge against his useless parents, she would try to help him and give care. But if she determines that he can no longer be corrected and has gone truly astray, then she would have to kill him. It is easy to eliminate such a dangerous threat while it is still in its growing stage. Even earlier, when he was sleeping, she had this thought to finish him once and for all. But she refrained from doing so. She decides to take the risk. If she can nurture him properly, he might become the key to putting an end to this everlasting war between exorcists and demons forever. Swish. She is finally at his courtyard. Meow. Time for some babysitting. Unknowingly, Oliver, who thought he would just remain a side character forever and become strong silently, had attracted a notorious entity. Oliver, who had just returned from an exhausting day, was about to crash into his bed for some sleep when he heard his paper door being scratched from outside, which made him flinch. He had just returned, and something was now scratching at his door. But he thought about it. His clan was guarded by exorcists 24/7, but there can't be an intruder. So who would come at this time? He looked towards the paper door and saw a shadow beyond. Eyes focused, and he saw something wondrous as the shadow converged and countless black lines solidified the figure hidden behind. And soon, the figure of a clearly defined cat formed in front of him. Cat? Did it sneak in somehow? How was that possible? He cautiously moved towards the door and slowly opened it. Pristine white cat was at his feet. Meow. It affectionately meowed at him as it nudged against his clothes. "Ahi, I will coax him with my cuteness," Cat thought, as she was quite confident in her cuteness. Unless he was an emotionless doll like his mother or sister, he would definitely take her in. Oliver stared at the nudging cat and then moved his hand from behind his back. Bang! Meow! What the fuck? The cat exclaimed in shock as Oliver just tried to smash her with a broom. Damn cat, I don't have food. Fuck off. Cursed as he once again attacked the cat with meow. The clan guardian ran as Oliver followed behind with broom. Bang, bang, bang. He intended to drive away this stray cat from his yard. He didn't like animals much. Asked wife. Meow, meow. For some reason, the cat kept running away from him inside his courtyard only, not leaving. The darkness didn't hinder him either, thanks to his special eyes. Bang, bang, bang. Get out. You little. I don't have food for stray animals like you. Bang, bang, bang. Oliver kept swinging the broom as he chased the cat. He made sure not to directly hit the cat. He was no animal abuser. He just swung the broom hard on the ground near the cat to drive it away. What is wrong with this kid? Is he insane? Hitting the clan guardian with a broom? No one has ever dared to disrespect me like this is animal abuse. The cat thought while running away. She thought Oliver would accept her, considering she was pitiful and came to him in the cold night. But it seemed that the boy had no kindness towards her. People had begged her to grace them with her presence, offering her countless treasures in her life, but never had someone dared to so blatantly chase her away with a broom. What was more shameful was that she was hit by the boy accidentally. She was forcibly suppressing her speed and strength so as not to make a mess of his yard. This boy was not stopping at all. She really wanted to beat some sense into this impudent brat. Meow. Another hit grazed through her butt as she cried out in shock. Bam. In her game of chase, she did not see that there was a wall in front of her and crashed into it. Ow. It hurts. Oliver, who had been following closely behind, also looked at the cat speechlessly. Was this cat dumb? There was a huge wall in front of it, yet it still collided straight into it. Seeing as how he had her cornered, he did not hit her anymore. He felt that the cat was a bit pitiful, laying there pressing her forehead in pain. Huh? Doesn't this cat act humane-like? Normally, shouldn't a cat lick their injuries, so why is this dumb-looking cat pressing its head instead? He puzzledly looked at the cat and felt something was odd. Stronger version of mythical eyes awaken. Check. A huge disturbance produced in the middle of the clan. Check. Someone sent to investigate. Check. A weird cat came to him in the middle of the night. Check. All of this happened just after he awakened the special eyes. Check. The clan guardian of the Mystic Purge clan also has the form of a cat. Check. Clan security is extremely tight that no animal could enter. Check. Oliver threw the broom away as he rubbed his hands. Indeed, he understood what was happening. Unexpectedly, he had been attacking the clan guardian with his broom. Anyways, it was not his fault. The guardian should have assumed a proper form if it was coming to meet him. Hey there, you kitten? Does it hurt? I remember that I still have some leftover fish from afternoon. I will feed it to you if you are hungry. Seeing the sudden shift in Oliver's attitude, the cat felt suspicious. For some reason, it had a bad premonition. Why was the brat who was brutally beating her suddenly changing his manners? Did he finally feel pity for her after seeing her hit herself into the wall? So he was human after all? And here she was about to assume him to be some vicious demon instead. Seeing that the cat was looking at him suspiciously, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He had indeed done something terrible just now. Whether it was the clan guardian or not, still hit her with a broom. So, he went back inside and brought out some fish. Putting the fish in front of the cat, he didn't say anything and just went back to sleep. If the clan guardian wanted to keep an eye on him, then there was nothing much he could do with his current power. So, it was better to cooperate with the cat and make it fat and lazy.